Next here, antithesis. See here, two words, combination of two words. Okay, so first one is anti. Anti means opposite, and thesis means ideas. Thesis means ideas. So here, when in the sentence two opposite ideas are shown by the poet, we called it as the antithesis. Take an example of it, that is, he wants to light the dark route. He wants to light. Okay. He wants to light. He wants to light the dark route. Wait a minute, dark route. In this sentence, see here, I used here antithesis. I am telling you about antithesis. What is antithesis? Anti means opposite, thesis means ideas. So in this sentence, the sentence is to you that he wants to light the dark route. In this sentence, light is opposite to dark. Okay, these two opposite ideas, what are the thesis? That is light and dark. These are two opposite thesis, is used by the poet in the line, and that's why exactly opposite to each other. Light exactly opposite to dark, and that's why it's called as the antithesis. Now next one here, euphemism. Next is euphemism. Euphemism. Okay, we are going towards euphemism. You have learned about it. Euphemism. By using this figure of speech, we speak in agreeable or favorable terms of some person, object, or event which is ordinarily considered unpleasant or disagreeable. Sometimes some sentences are very give burden or stress to us. Some kind of words like that. The doctor says you, sometimes the patient is not that directly the doctor is not give you directly shock that the patient is dead. So he used not like that sentence. So he said what? The patient is no more. It means that he wants to, or doctor wants to say that the patient is dead. But instead of dead, the doctor is used, the patient is no more. Like that, sometimes that here he is telling. Okay, take another example. He is telling a fairy tale. He is telling a fairy tale. All of you know that fairy tale is really not exist in this world. Fairy is not really exist in this world, and that's why it's lie. It's called as the lie. Fairy tale means what? It's a lie. It's untruth. It's untruth. Okay, a lie or untruth. And so we can use means what? Fairy tale, or it's a untruth. It's a unpleasant thing. It's not liked by everyone, but in this line it is used by the poet in this way, that is fairy tale. Fairy tales means untruth or lie. Okay, take another example that doctor said. Okay, doctor said patient is no more. Or here, wait a minute. Wait a minute. He is no more. He is no more. If the sentence is like that, no more means what? Dead. Okay. If the person is directly said that he is dead, it will shock to us, and that's why sometimes someone said that, or some person said that he is no more. No more means dead. Take another example of it, that when I am gone away. Third is when I am gone away. When I am gone away. Actually, in this sentence, gone away. Gone away means what? Dead. Okay. So it is unpleasant thing. Dead is the unpleasant thing. But in a pleasant way, it's tell in this sentence that is gone away. It's unpleasant thing dead, but in a pleasant way, it describes in the sentence that is gone away. Okay. Next here is, we are going towards hyperbole. Hyperbole. You have studied it. Hyperbole. Hyperbole means exactly an exaggerated sentence. It's called as the hyperbole. It's overstatement. It's overstatement, or we called it as exaggeration. Okay, it's called as the exaggerated statement. For example, whatever the actual thing is, it is said by the poet very much or lots of in a way. It's called as the hyperbole. It's called as the hyperbole. For example, he wept or she wept. Wept means cried. She wept a bucket full. She wept a bucket full of tears. She wept a bucket full of tears. Actually, it happens. Really, we wept. Really, we are weep like that. A bucket full of tears. No. Really, we not in real life weep like that way. A bucket full of tears. So it's a overstatement, or we can say at a glance I see thousands of flowers. Okay. It means that at a glance it's not possible that I am able to see thousands of flowers, but it's an overstatement. It's an exaggerated statement, and that's why it's called as the hyperbole. Now next is that apostrophe. Okay, apostrophe, it is a direct address to inanimate thing, someone, somehow, sometimes abstract thing, or sometimes it is also addressed to a living person or the person who is totally absent. The sentence is addressed to that absent inanimate thing, absent living being, absent abstract ideas, or etc. So we called it as apostrophe. Okay, apostrophe. Apostrophe. Whatever the poet wants to address to that particular object. Maybe that object is non-living thing. Maybe that is human being. Maybe that is abstract ideas. Abstract ideas means what? All of your feelings and emotions. We call these as abstract ideas. So when the poet wants to address all those things which are actually absent at that time, so we can call it as apostrophe. For example, oh God, save me. For example, the sentence often said by us, oh God, save me. Okay, in this sentence, God is absent, but then also addressed by us or addressed by the poet, and that's why it is called as the apostrophe. Sometimes your vehicle is not in its right way, and sometimes you said that, oh, what a stupid car you are. Okay, what you said? What a stupid car you are. Take an example. Another. Oh, what a stupid car you are. So in this sentence, inanimate thing, that is car, inanimate thing or non-living thing is described as human being, and so that sentence is pronounced by us or by the poet. That is, oh, what a stupid car you are. Okay, at that time we used it, so it's called as the apostrophe. Now next here, inversion. Inversion second last figure of speech, inversion. In inversion, the correct prose order. What is the correct prose order? That is subject plus verb plus object. This is the correct prose order. The English sentence construction is with this formation, with this structure. That is subject plus verb plus object. But when in the poem, this sentence construction is not followed by the poet, it is called as the inversion. Take an example of it. When this correct prose order, that is subject plus verb plus object, this is the correct prose order of English subject or English language. So when it is not followed by the poet, it's called as the inversion. Take an example of it, that is but don't you quit. But don't you quit. Okay, for example, but don't you quit. In this sentence, the correct prose order, that is subject plus verb plus object, is not followed. So what is the correct prose order we have to write here? That is, but while explaining, you have to write the correct prose order of the figure of speech. That is, but you don't quit. But you don't quit. That is the correct prose order. That is subject plus verb plus object. Okay, this is subject plus verb plus object. Okay, the remaining sentence here, object. So subject plus verb plus object, this is correct prose order is followed, is not followed in the sentence, given sentence. So the correct prose order in this sentence is that but, comma, you don't quit, put exclamation. So it's called as the inversion. Now next one here, that last one, that is repetition. So what is repetition? When in a sentence a particular word is repeatedly repeated by the poet more than 2 times, it's called as the repetition. Okay. Okay, repetition means what? When the particular word in that sentence is repeatedly repeated more than 2 times, it's called as repetition. For example, here, twinkle, twinkle, little star. Okay, in this sentence, twinkle, twinkle, this word is repeatedly repeated 2 times, and that's why it's called as the repetition. Next example, Peter patter raindrops, nursery rhyme. Peter patter raindrops, or you can say, so sorry, in this note, Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Next line is that Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Then Humpty, wait a minute. So like this we have the figure of speech which you are learn in your 8th, 9th and 10th standard. Okay, all of you got these all figures of speech? All of you have got? All of you have got? Yes or no?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now you can. Okay. One more point I have to add to your appreciation of the poem. That is the first one point, title of the poem. So you have to give here the meaning of the title. What is the exactly mean by the poet? Okay, not the exact meaning. That is, for example, take an example of it. That wait a minute. That is exactly what the poet wants to give the message throughout that poem. It means that it would connect that title of the poem. So you can say here that what do the poet wants to give the message from that poem is the related with that title. Title means what? Now actually literal meaning. Literal mean what? Literal meaning means what? Exact meaning. You do not have to give that exact meaning of that title. Okay, you have to give the meaning beneath the line. Okay, what is the outside meaning? What you will get inside the dictionary, the meaning of that words, these words of the title. You will not give that meaning of the title to your or in your appreciation of the poem. Now rhyme scheme we have seen, all these elements we have completed. May I hope that all these points will help you, or all these explanation will definitely make your best firm, or make your best that is very that is very firmful to settle down in 11th and 12th standard, and you will definitely help all these figures of speech. All these figures of speech you will having in your 11th and 12th standard also, as well as appreciation of the poem also it will have in your HSC board examination also, as well as in 11th examination also. Okay, thank you, have a nice day and bye.